Yeah, everybody had given up on me. They basically kind of told me to quit. My whole team got injured and retired, and it was basically just me out there. Got pneumonia. My serviceman blew both his knees. He was out as well. On top of all that stuff, I was still able to have such a good season.
Right.
And everybody wanted to blame it on the fitness. But then when I had my best season ever, they can't argue. How do you argue with that?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rose Bros podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Rose. Set around a cup of Rose Bros coffee, my goal is to share the tips and tricks, stories, and life lessons of other entrepreneurs, business owners, athletes, and interesting people in general to help you succeed better in your life. Today, we are joined by Ben Thomsen, World Cup alpine ski racer and member of the Canadian national ski team. We touched on pushing through adversity, enjoying whatever you dedicate yourself towards, and some insights into fitness and sports psychology. It was a great episode, so I hope you enjoy the show. Ben, welcome to the show. Thanks for sitting down.
Thanks for having me, Trevor.
For those who don't know, Ben Thomsen is a World Cup ski racer, member of the Canadian national alpine ski team. Ben's parents, Glenn and Shelley, are also ski coaches and have been coaching people all the way down from the national team to people like myself as a youngster. Glenn and Shelley have been instrumental to a lot of young racers' success, including Ben's. Besides that, Ben has been racing on the World Cup for 10 years now.
Yeah, 10 years this year.
Ben made his World Cup debut, and I believe it was March of 2010.
Yep, that's right, in Kitzbuhel, Norway.
Some career highlights include a second place in Sochi, February 2012. That year, he also finished 15th overall in the downhill standings. In addition to that, Ben has raced in 2 Olympic Games. He was a competitor in the Russia Olympics in 2014 and also in Pyeongchang in 2018, where he raced in the downhill and Super G.
Pyeongchang, just the downhill, and then started the Super Combine.
Okay.
My old knees couldn't handle the slalom.
Besides that, Ben's just an overall athlete. I believe he's into a lot of water sports, dirt biking, a lot of golf. Really appreciate you sitting down, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Trev. Good intro there.
I think I've spent more time with Shelley and Glenn than you over the last few years, actually, having worked with Shelley last year.
Yeah, so. you probably have. Yeah, racing on the tour. Spent a lot of time away from home, which is good and bad. It's nice to see the world, but at the same time, spend a lot of time away from home, family and friends. So
to get back to the beginning, Glenn and Shelley, national team coaches, youngsters coaches. So was skiing always kind of your direction, or was that the destiny?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Skiing was always the direction. When I was young, both parents were ski coaching. Glenn was coaching at the national team level, so he was away a lot. My mom was starting up Wind River Valley Ski Club here. Right away, young age, I think, 1 or something like that, I was in skiing. And then as I got older, other kids were going in the Nancy Green program. I always wanted to go train with my mom on the hill with the team. That just got to be a little bit too much, so she enlisted me into Nancy Green. One day, we were out there, we were doing the snake slithering down the run, way too slow for me. So I pretended to be cold, went inside, hid behind a chair and underneath some backpacks and whatever, and then I was out on my own, and that was the last of Nancy Green. From there on out, my mom knew I was kind of on my own program, and I was going to do what I wanted. And fast forward a little bit, like you said, I'm into a lot of sports. I love hockey, play a lot of hockey. When I was about 12 years old, we had to make the decision which was I going to do, because both being winter sports, expensive, and time consuming was kind of the main one, but also financially as well. My parents sat me down and they kind of looked at me and asked me, we know you love ski racing and you love hockey as well. You're getting older and you kind of got to choose, because we can't keep doing both. And I looked at them and said, I know you really want me to be a skier, but I love hockey and I want to play hockey. And they just kind of replied, well, that's too bad because we've already made that decision for you. You're going to be a ski racer.
So that was around 12.
That was around 12, yeah. My dad, I don't know if it was him being too good to me or if it was just he really wanted me to be a ski racer. I don't know, but whenever I had issues in school, which there was a few, I didn't get along with school at all. He would sit me down, he would teach me anything. I did lots of summer school. He would help me through all of it and made sure that I would get it done so that the priority was skiing. If ever there was a time when teacher said, no, he can't go on this trip because he's got to get this done, there wasn't an argument. He goes on the trip. We try and get it done. And most of the time we didn't, but priority was a high level of ski racing at a very young age. I don't regret it whatsoever. So
Always been skiing.
Always been skiing. Yeah.
Did you ever think, somewhere in your teenage years, you might kind of dip back into hockey, or was it just full bore?
No, once that
Kicked in.
3-4 years after that, I'm a smaller guy, and in high school I was really small. I don't think that ever crossed my mind. Looking at it, I'd be like, yeah, there's no way I would have made it through.
Yeah.
I didn't have the skills like Johnny Gaudreau or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, for those who don't know, I actually grew up with Ben in Invermere, BC, so kind of knew Ben all along, and I can remember skiing with Ben along the way, and I remember you didn't really start growing until you were probably 20, a little later.
Yeah, maybe even later. It was late.
Did you notice that made a big difference in your
Yeah, that made a huge difference in the ski career.
night and day?
It was really tough beginning there with my dad having such a big impact on coaching. Me coming up being a smaller athlete, there was always excuses and I was easily dismissed in many cases. In a way has made me the racer that I am today, that I didn't give up or didn't listen to a lot of people who told me to quit or I'll never make it because of my size or just because of who my dad is.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what that has to do with anything, but people are crazy in sport. But once I had a little bit more strength and stature, I noticed the results started to really come. And then just recently, actually, I've gotten a lot stronger and bigger and heavier and more competitive with the bigger guys on World Cup. And I had a breakthrough season last year where I was finished top 14 in the world in downhill. I didn't change anything other than I just got stronger and heavier.
Right.
It's amazing how much of a difference that makes in this gravity sport.
So how much you weighing these days?
Last I checked when I came home, I was over 200 pounds.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's good.
That's pretty big for a guy who's only 5'8".
Absolutely.
On a good day, 5'7", yeah.
Absolutely. But that's good. That's what you're going for.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's somewhat functional weight. I can't just be a butterball on the couch and expect to win World Cups, but
growing up, inspiration, who were your kind of people you looked towards as far as other athletes, inspiration in general?
There's a few kind of local guys that I knew that were older, some of the hockey players, some of the volleyball players, but in our sport, I think the guy I looked up to the most was Thomas Grandy.
Your dad coached Thomas.
My dad coached Thomas, the best male technical skier that Canada has produced ever. Won Absolutely. a few World Cups. I don't know his exact stats, but he's phenomenal. And I was lucky enough that when I was 13, 14, my dad was coaching him and I got to learn and see kind of how Thomas does stuff at just such a young age. Looking at that, observing it, obtaining it, it's really helped me, especially now, because there's a lot of things I've already seen and known for many years where I look at some of the younger guys coming up and they still have a lot of lessons to learn.
Yeah.
Hopefully maybe I can guide them in the right direction, but at the same time, everybody's got to find their own way as well. So
Thomas Grandy, who else?
I mean, it's hard not to be focused so much on skiers.
Any hockey guys?
But, well, I mean, if we're dipping into hockey, I would just go like the Wayne Gretzky.
Some people don't have that. I mean, some people just have always...
Yeah, some people don't. I didn't have too many, but Thomas was a big part of my life, for sure.
Interesting.
Got into a lot of trouble when I was 13 years old. I got expelled from school, and Thomas kind of sat me down and gave me a little bit of a talking to of,
really? Huh, I didn't know that.
I can't be doing this stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing bad anymore, but I just got expelled, and he just kind of guided me and helped me see the right path. And it was amazing the difference 2 years later. The crowd that I was hanging out with before, everything was about partying and having fun on the weekends, and it changed to you're going skiing every weekend and it's about business. And I mean, not in a non-fun way, but it was just everything was more professional, and I was doing something that had purpose. That changed quite a bit.
Yeah, it's amazing what your environment will do. Yeah. People you hang out with. Yeah,
I look at a lot of friends that I grew up with, and some not as lucky as I am.
Didn't make the right decisions.
Yeah, and it's crazy how easy that can happen.
Yeah, for sure.
It can happen with anybody.
Growing up, the path is always skiing. You're an athlete, obviously. Did you find that playing a lot of summer sport kind of prepared you for the winter? Did you find that balance really helped?
Yeah, I've always been a firm believer in cross training, not CrossFit, but definitely cross training. The way I kind of look at it, like you can be strong and fit in a gym and you can lift weights or you can run on a treadmill. However you want to look at it, you can do those things and you can be really good at them. But it's a very stable environment and nothing changes. You know what's in front of you. There's no surprises. When you go play sport, it doesn't matter how intense the sport is or how easy you're taking it, team, individual, whatever it is. The elements always change. It's different. You have to react. Skiing, in a way, you can plan as much as you want. But every run is going to be different no matter what the scenario is. Yep. You have to have that adaptability and reaction and anticipation. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out the same.
Right. So what degree do you think that kind of cross-sport training played into your development? Would you recommend that?
I mean, I the only reason I'm on World Cup and I'm the athlete that I am today is because I didn't just solely focus on in the gym.
Right.
I was out there playing soccer, wakeboarding, dirt biking, mountain biking, playing golf, baseball, just everything. Huge. It was definitely the building blocks.
Yeah, I've read a lot of that. I mean, read quotes. I think Wayne Gretzky, there's a quote out there from him talking about how he would play something from, the spring till the fall. It's something totally different than hockey. And he really attributed that to, being fresh in the fall and some of his success. So if you were to tell young kids now, growing up, young racers now, what would you tell them to do in the summer/spring? Would it be just go play whatever?
Yeah, I mean, just do something that you really enjoy.
Have fun.
It's okay to take a break and have fun.
Right.
Just enjoy it. If you're really crazy about skiing and you want to do skiing, then go skiing. But skiing's not the only thing in life out there.
Yeah. How about dryland now? So what kind of program are you on now? What does that involve? Are you training 12 months a year? Do you take a break?
Oh yeah, we're training constantly all the time. As we were discussing earlier, I'm having a hard time finding that balance between rest and working out and being active. I've always wanted, I always want to work as hard as possible, but that's my downfall. I have a hard time accepting that I need rest and to take that rest.
Yep.
Nowadays it's we just try and get a couple lifts in each week, and then we're doing some heavy intervals on the bikes to keep that system firing and ready, the power endurance. Luckily this year I have more of a team around me and we can actually play games like spike ball and Foursquare, and we just do a lot of that. We lift weights and we get that part done, but most important to have that team bonding and fun spirit on the team and enjoy it.
Right. So are you lifting weights like heavy in the summer and then taper off kind of in the fall?
Yeah, very heavy in the summer. You don't want to push it too deep into the fall because the season is very long. With all the travel that we have, it's very taxing on the body.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll lift very heavy, get the power endurance up, and then once you're into the season, it's just try and maintain that strength and volume that you've built. And in order to do so, you need to lift at least once a week, but you might not even maintain with that. You probably have to lift twice.
Yeah.
And then some hard bike sprints.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course core mobility every single day. You got to keep the body moving.
Fitness in general, playing into your development as an athlete, how important do you think that has been over the years? Would you rank that number one, number two, or more time on snow?
That's a tough one of what would have been the biggest contributing factor. I always have been very bad at fitness testing, like terrible.
Okay.
Which is almost painted me in a corner when you talk to the trainers, and they go, well, he has to be stronger, otherwise he can't ski. And that's hard to say when I'm the fastest athlete, and it's like, well,
that's why I asked, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a
it's a difficult one. But for me, now that I've finally been successful and I'm in a position that I can kind of tell the trainers, look, I'm more comfortable in this scenario. And we kind of figured that out last year. Of the heavier I am, the better I feel. And I just did Bormio, which is the most insane course. It's over 2 minutes. It's dark, it's bumpy, it's icy. By far the most physically demanding run you'll do on skis, easily.
Harder than Kitzbuhel?
Oh yeah, way harder. Just because it's so long and it's flat light.
What about Vangen? Isn't that a tough one?
Vangen's longer, but the thing about Vangen is you're not turning as much. Bormio, you're literally turning back and forth the entire run, and with some really big jumps and fast sections over 140 kilometers. And when you get down into the bottom, it's very common for guys to just fold up, crumple, and fall into the net because they just don't have the stamina, or they're pushing their limits so far and they just fall over. Yeah. And this year, I've never felt that good at Bormio. Like, I felt completely in control. I could stop at the end of it, which is never had that before.
So why? Like, what are you doing now?
Well, if you look at my fitness scores and you look at my body composition, I'm the heaviest I've been, and I'm the most out of shape according to these tests. Yeah, it doesn't matter because I feel as the best I've ever felt. I attribute that to my strength, my power endurance, and just the extra weight allows me to be a little bit more efficient, and I don't have to push as hard.
So the mechanics, like, do you think you're getting better, like as a skier?
I wouldn't say better, just more efficient. It's just different. I'm able to create the same amount of power with less effort. In return, I'm not wasting as much energy. Right. When you're lighter, there's some things that are a lot easier, for sure. Changing direction, balance in the air, getting out of the start gate, things like that. Yeah, that's easier when you're lighter, but you have to work a lot harder to build that momentum. Yeah. And then in return, I don't think it's better to be lighter.
So you found it's kind of been a refining process for your, personally, right? Like, there's no one, those metrics that a lot of the trainers use to evaluate people.
It's very one-dimensional. It's not like everybody is different. Everybody skis different. Everybody's body is different. Right. So you can't just have this cookie-cutter program. Yeah. I think that goes back to sports, like just playing a lot of different sports and knowing your body and being in tune with your body and realizing, like, when you're out on skis, okay, I feel really good in this with this. Like, we did more cleans this year, so I feel really good. Or, we did too many cleans. I feel like I'm fast twitching, but I don't have the power endurance to make it to the bottom. Mm-hmm. It's a long process of learning what works for you. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the most important part. It starts at a young age of playing lots of different sports.
Yeah. So have you had that battle with trainers and coaches?
It's been an ongoing battle forever.
Really?
Last year, I think I kind of finally put the nail in the coffin when
you had some results.
Yeah, everybody had given up on me. They basically kind of told me to quit. My whole team got injured and retired, and it was basically just me out there. Mm-hmm. Got pneumonia. My serviceman blew both his knees. He was out as well. On top of all that stuff, I was still able to have such a good season. Right. And everybody wanted to blame it on the fitness. But then when I have my best season ever, mm-hmm. they can't argue. Mm-hmm. How do you argue with that? Mm-hmm. I told you this is what I wanted to do for a long time. I wanted to get stronger and heavier. Mm-hmm. As soon as I did it, I had a result.
Mm-hmm. So how'd you know that? Did you just intuitively kind of realize within yourself that you're like this?
Well, it's also looking at what's out there. Yeah. Beat Voigt's right now, Swiss skier. He's
heavy guy. I don't know.
Unbelievable. He's a heavy guy. He's smaller in stature like myself, mm-hmm. but then he'd probably be a little bit heavier than me. Everybody kind of calls him a butterball, and he looks really out of shape, but he's so strong. He is fit. I think he's been on the podium 15 out of the last 17 races.
Yeah, so it works.
Yeah, like it clearly works, and we're the same age. We went to World Juniors together. I've been right beside him. When I was second in Sochi, he actually mm-hmm. won. We were battling it out more in the past years than this year, but I just kind of noticed that he was just so much thicker and heavier, and
Yeah.
Maybe that was stronger. I don't know. But not just him, like everybody was like that. I'd already raced so many years being very, very fit and significantly lighter, like 30 pounds lighter than I am right now.
Right.
And it just wasn't working. So why not try the other way?
Approach.
Because I have to try something because this isn't working. So
yeah,
I decided to I'm not going to listen to the team. I'm just going to do exactly what I want to do. And I was fortunate enough. I had a trainer, Agneta. She's from Europe, working with us for a few years, and she really got on board with it. And it was just like happy racer, fast racer. So
yeah,
that was kind of our motto last year.
Last year was a tough year. Would you say that's probably been one of the harder years you've had?
That was by far the hardest year ever.
Everything.
It was fun and it was exciting, and I'm so fortunate. I had some of the coaches and staff members in place, and they made it really fun and exciting.
Yeah. But you were the only guy.
But I was the only guy. I mean, some races I was literally the only racer.
The only Canadian
in the
racing.
race. Yeah. You know, when you have 6 to 10 coaches following you around, the amount of pressure that puts on you.
It's bittersweet.
It's really cool that you're the only guy and you're getting a lot of attention, but at the same time it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm like
all eyes on you.
The whole entire day of Canada is relying on me right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
so that was tough.
Yeah, that was tough, but I'm pretty good at blocking that stuff out.
Yeah.
Because you can't be thinking about the results and all that stuff. You have to be thinking about the process. Like what you're going to do and how, like, just think about performing. Don't think about the outcome.
Yeah. So kind of get into that. How'd you push through those, challenging times?
There's been I've had lots of practice, I would say. I've had lots of unfortunate things. I mean, everybody has unfortunate things happen to them and circumstances. It's been a battle for a long time with ski racing. A lot of people have tried to push me out, a lot of training in a way that have made me stronger and made me who I am today.
Is there any kind of philosophies or, ways of looking at life that you fall back on, or is it just been experience?
I used to just ignore it, like bury it down, ignore it, and just like keep doing what I was doing. And I think that's a young, almost naive way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because you're not fixing the problem in any sense. It's okay to look at the problem and feel bad and feel terrible. There's a fine line to walk with that one, because confidence is as I've found, confidence is everything. Even just last week, for example, 12th in Bormio. It was my best result this season. It was really good. I was unfortunate with the wind. I had a lot of headwind, but
you were winning at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, I was winning on the top half, and I mean that's racing. That's the way it goes. Yeah. That's fine. But going up to when I was riding the chair on the way up for my run, and I was continually telling myself over and over again, like, you can do this, because 2 hours prior to that, I was in my hotel room thinking, if I don't ski well today, is this the end of ski racing for me? Like, can I even be a ski racer anymore?
That's incredible.
I'm basically on the limit of, should I continue my career or not? And then it's almost like you just tell yourself to snap out of it. Instead of thinking about the negative, just think about the positive. Think about how good you are. And you might be lying to yourself of that. You're lying to yourself if you actually think you're not that good. But if you continually tell yourself over and over again, you are that good and you can do it. Totally. It's amazing what you can do when you have the approach of, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna kill it, this is gonna be awesome, let's go, instead of, oh my God, pressure or whatever.
So it's psychological.
100% psychological, yeah.
Sports is how much do you think psychological? 80%? 90%?
Yeah, 90.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I think it's the Marines that have that saying of when you're tired, you're only 60% of the way there.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true of, we always tap out because of the feelings that we have in our bodies instead of just keep going no matter what.
So you've kind of built that resilience up yourself. Have you worked with psychologists or any
Yeah, we've worked with psychologists. Back with the BC team, we had a psychologist we worked with for a little bit. And then once we get on to the national team, the sports center in Calgary, they've supplied a few now. The most recent one I work with is Frank Vandenberg. He's awesome. He's really good. He's ex-bobsledder.
Okay.
It's nice to talk to an athlete that can relate on so many levels, from going to the Olympics to results not working out to issues with coaches or teammates, whatever it is. It's nice to have somebody that can relate so well. That to me is the most important piece of the puzzle, is the psychological help and assistance. The biggest part of that is it's okay and knowing it's acceptable. It's a great thing. And mental health is so important. I can't stress that enough.
So you find that helps. It's not all you, like kind of resilience, you know, it helps to work with a psychologist and kind of talk things out.
It helps to work with psychologists. For me, I find the biggest thing is when you talk about a problem and just having that person acknowledge your feelings.
Totally.
I know that kind of sounds like
No, it's real.
just having somebody acknowledge and say, yeah, you know what? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Enough therapy in itself.
Yeah. Do you do anything else like journaling or anything like that?
I've dabbled a little bit here and there. I'm going through a little bit of a tough situation right now where I probably should be journaling, but I keep kind of pushing it away. And I think maybe it's time to face the music and just get it done and move on. And
a lot of tools out there, right? You know, there's not a lot of ways to deal with stress. Everyone has their own way. So
most importantly, don't turn to alcohol and that stuff.
Yeah.
Focus on the good things of hydration, nutrition, and sleep.
On that note, you're back here now in Canada for a few days. How long are you back for?
I'll be back until the 10th of January, so another week.
What would you recommend for a period of time when you are recovering? Is it kind of just your own blend of things, or is there a routine you have?
Usually the first day I'm so jet lagged and tired from the travel, it's like complete silence, basically sleep all day to get over that. It's important to stay in a routine. I try and get up around 7:30. Yeah. That's like kind of my daily thing. And then I'll just get on the bike right away, ride it for 30 minutes, slow intensity, just getting the blood moving and everything like that. I have a hard time eating in the mornings. I'm not hungry. I don't know why that is. So getting on the bike, that helps me develop an appetite. Throughout the day, I mean, I might go play hockey, I might go skiing, I might do something outside. Most importantly is you're going to have lots of people who want to have your attention and you around and want to spend time with you. And that's a good thing, but you have to be careful of not over committing. A lot of people always say, oh no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. But if I were to say yes to every friend and family member, it's like, I literally wouldn't have a second to myself. And then it's just, you're not getting any recovery, even though it's fun and everything's great. And it's good to see that person. You're exerting so much energy and you're just not getting that rest that you really, really need.
Learning how to say no.
It's tough. It's really tough.
Yes.
Some of those people you haven't seen in months or like a year, you want to do it, but then at the same time, you're like, oh my God, I just really want to relax and not have to answer a bunch of questions. Not that answering questions is taxing. It's just,
you need time to yourself.
You need that time to shut off your brain, to really shut off your brain and just breathe. I like to just sit around, listen to music quietly. Yeah.
Back now, and then you head back to Europe for the second half of the season. What's the first race you got coming up in Europe? So
right away, we'll head over to Wengen, Switzerland, the Laberhorn downhill. Right. It's the longest one on the tour. Yeah. It's over 2.5 minutes, 7 kilometers of track, something like that. It's wild. Yeah. But January and February are huge months for us. We do Wengen. Then the next weekend we do Kitzbuhel, which is like the Super Bowl of ski racing. The week after that, we do Garmisch in Germany. We'll get, I think, a week off to travel to Beijing for the next Winter Olympics venue. So we do a test event before the Winter Olympics. We're going to train there for a bit, fly all the way around the globe, back home for 4 days, fly back over to Europe.
Wow.
For a Super G, then up to Norway for a Super G downhill. I mean, provided on your ranking, you have to be top 25, and then you go to finals. And then after finals, you have to be top 25 overall in a discipline, and that's hard criteria. So if you're 26th and one guy is injured or doesn't go, you don't get to go in. It has to be top 25. And I mean, I've only been to a couple World Cup finals. This year, my goal is to go in Super G and downhill. I've made it in downhill a few times. Yeah. Never made it into the top 30 in Super G, and that's kind of been my goal this year.
Okay. Do you set goals? Are you a goal guy? Or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I set goals
Yearly, monthly?
But it's kind of tough. We sat down this year. I have a new head coach who is actually my old teammate, John Kuchera.
Right.
We sat down. I think it is easy to forget how you need to raise the bar and raise your expectation and strive for as good as you can. And I think I've just been in a bit of a loop of that. I haven't been trying to go for the win. Like
Okay.
I think I do have the talent to go there. I just need to have the confidence to really push myself to get there. Because we were talking about goals this summer, and John looked at me and said, well, why not? Why don't you just want to win? Like you can win. I know you can. Maybe not this year, but you can win. So why don't we just have this as a goal? And it kind of dawned on me that, I've just been stuck in this cycle for so long.
Yeah.
Just trying to do as best I can to be a part of the team, because everybody's been trying to kick me out.
Yeah.
And that I shouldn't be worrying about what anybody thinks. I should just be believing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just do as best I can.
Yeah. Gear racing's a sport where the winner is the guy who's in 20th place is maybe a second or two away, right?
It's getting really tight. Basically, between the top 30 is where you get all the points. Top 30, on average, it's a second and a half between first place and 30th. That's nothing.
That's nothing.
That's nothing, especially over a track that's a couple kilometers long and almost 2 minutes long. That's not a lot of mistakes or
So you're totally capable of winning. It's just a matter of putting it together.
I think so. It's just a matter of the day going my way and me putting a run together on that day.
So what do you think separates guys that consistently win? Is it attitude, equipment? Like how much does equipment factor into things these days? Is it
not as much as it used to. It used to play a huge part. People would be like, "Oh, look at those skis they're running today," or "Oh, that guy has
much is that?
Those guys' skis." Nowadays, everybody has really good product.
Really?
Everybody's on top of their game. If you're with a brand like Head or Atomic or Rossi, like I'm with Head, it's not that this guy's serviceman is waxing the skis this way. It's like all the Head guys are waxing skis kind of the same.
Right. Because I remember it used to be huge differences, wasn't there? Like it was.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see differences in companies that do better in certain conditions sometimes, but it's not like we're not talking seconds here. We're talking like tenths of a second. That's not as big of a deal as it used to be for guys who constantly perform and they're on that podium like Dominic Paris or Beat Voits. They've totally just figured out what works for them. Mm-hmm. They know their routine, everything. Can pretty much guarantee like those guys are going to be on the podium every day unless something drastic happens. Yeah. It's inspiring. It's kind of insane to look and see what we go through, of how stressful everything is and how busy everything is. And it's 10 times busier when you're the center of attention. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that those guys can keep doing it is pretty crazy. Confidence is a huge thing. Yeah. Get the Austrian Max Franz, who skied really well last year and was leading the titles, and he had lots of confidence, and then he broke his heel in Kitzbuhel, and now he's coming back, and it's not quite... he's coming back from injury, but you can see that the confidence isn't the same.
Right.
It plays a big part. I think that's what I won't say missing. I'm definitely gaining confidence with the results in Bormio. It's not where it can be. Right. I know I can be more confident.
This year you have some teammates too. So who is on the downhill team this year, the Super G?
Well, Manny Osborne Paradis, fellow local, he broke his leg last year in Lake Louise, and he's still recovering from that. He is planning on coming back. When he returns to snow, I'm not exactly sure. Broderick, another teammate of mine, he blew his knee last November, just before Lake Louise as well. I think like around the 18th of November or 23rd. Not having those guys last year was devastating. Not having them this year is terrible too. They're a lot closer in age than the rest of the team. Right. The rest of the guys, younger guys, they're great. They're good. And it's just there's a huge gap. I mean, 10 years is a big gap.
That is huge
between people. It's everything to how they're approaching stuff, to talking about skiing, to social media, to friends and family, to just interactions, to having dinner. Like everything is completely different, and I feel like I'm just a grumpy old man out there sometimes.
That's a big.
I mean, hopefully they learn some lessons. I mean, I definitely learn a lot from them too.
So there's a few more guys though this year.
Yeah, so we got Brody and Riley Seeger. Brody's having a breakthrough year this year. I think he's skiing really fast. I think he's gonna do something special this year. Just has to go his way. Dustin is still on the team, Dustin Cook. Then when you go to the younger guys, you have Sam Mulligan, Jack Crawford, Jeffrey Reed, Cam Alexander, and his younger brother Kyle Alexander. So it's a very big team. We had some kind of budget issues last year where we weren't going to be able to afford everything, so we had to kind of squish everything together. It made training a bit difficult for me and Dustin, but we're getting by.
Financially, ski racing's a tough sport if you're Canadian.
Unbelievably, yeah.
Can you get into a bit of that? Do you want to? What's the state of Alpine Canada these days? Is it dire? Is it good? Is it better?
I think it's good now. It was really bad in the spring.
So what does really bad mean? Like what? Bankrupt?
Like basically, they were on their way to bankruptcy.
No money.
I think. Well, yeah, no money. I mean, they always say we don't have any money, but I think it was in a situation where like they really didn't have any money. They did what they could. They shuffled things around. We had to cancel a lot of training. We had to get rid of some coaches. So that was tough, for sure.
That's terrible.
It's really hard to see when you're having the best season of your life and then that is the result of it. You know, like it's so tough as it is trying to compete with these teams that have
fully funded
$80 million, $90 million budgets and can't afford to even ski in the summer.
So who has a budget like that? Like the Austrians?
The Swiss, the Austrians, the Germans. Yeah.
80 million.
Well, that's what I heard this summer was the Swiss team has a budget of 80 million. That's not just Alpine. That is spread out a little bit more, but like still, even if you divide it up, let's say it's like, I know for a fact they had a $2 million budget just for their off-season training. That's basically our entire budget.
Really?
Yeah.
Alpine Canada.
Well, I mean, I can't, you can't quote me on all this. I mean, like this is all rumor and speculation. Yeah. Like we're dealing with teams that have 10 times what we have. Oh. And then we have all the travel and stuff like that. So quite tasking, difficult.
But they got money in the spring?
Throughout the summer, the board got fully replaced and our new board is very capable. I have a lot of confidence in them. Some have been sponsors of particular athletes on the team for many years.
Right.
Been wanting to kind of step in and give help as much as they can. And Tim Detel's leading the way on that. Eric Gay recently retired last year, and then he's on the board this year and providing a lot of help. I've talked to him about a few things, and it's good to know that those guys, like they mean business. I think for a few years now in Alpine Canada, there's been a lack of accountability. The racers get the results and then there's no money to show for it. It's like, well, okay, well, at the end of the day, the racer has to go in the gate, whether you have the money or not. You got to find a way to get it there. And I think Tim and his team are going to do a great job.
Right. World Cup financially, if you are winning, like what kind of money are those guys bringing in? If say you won a race or
prize money, I think minimum is 40,000 Swiss francs.
So you win a race, 40 grand.
And then
it's not bad, but
I mean, it's not bad. If you're European, you're basically like tripling that because
sponsorships.
Sponsorships and headgears and all these things and ski companies, maybe even more. But that's minimum. You know, a guy like Paris, who's sponsored by Red Bull, if he wins a downhill race, he's probably getting 200,000 euros
extra.
That's probably what he's taking in with all his like prize money and sponsorship money
for one win.
And then, for one win.
It's not bad. That's pretty good.
that's pretty good. I think
that's a lot of money.
He won both the races in Bormio last weekend, and then he won 3 victories this year already. So
there's money there.
There is money. Europeans, they probably clear over €1 million
if you're a champion.
If you're doing good.
So there is money to be had. It's just tough in Canada these days.
It's very tough. I don't have a headgear sponsor right now. It's not that I'm not looking. I'm in the season. I got to focus on results, not just getting a paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Coming into the second half of the season now, getting back to, we'll just maybe touch a little bit on skiing growing up. I've been a coach, the last couple of years on and off myself. If you were to look back and kind of, talk to young racers between training, technical training, doing gates and free skiing, would you say, is there a kind of did you find that free skiing was helpful growing up with your development?
Oh, huge. I think I kind of remember whenever we went to races, our team was kind of the only team that was still free skiing out in the woods and like having fun.
Do you think that was important?
Huge. I think that's like the biggest thing. I think teams these days and kids are doing too many days of gates.
Okay.
And it's getting too repetitive. The way I look at free skiing or powder skiing, just going out in the woods or whatever, like on the hill, it's kind of like playing a different sport. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a set reaction. Mm-hmm. Like the gates, when you do that run over and over again, the gates aren't moving. Sure, the conditions might change a little bit, but for the most part, it's the same run every time. And it's repetitive, which is good when you're trying to see how fast you can go and you're pushing things and you're learning things. But I don't think you need to do that much. It's more, you're going to go further if you train that other side of it, which is the reaction side, because mm-hmm. you can train and try and be in this perfect position all the time. Like, oh, you can create speed or you can create power if you're in this perfect position every single turn. Mm-hmm. But the reality of the situation is, how many times are you actually going to be in that perfect position?
Yeah.
You're probably not going to. So you need to be able to get the same result from a different position by reacting to whatever's happening. Mm-hmm. I think there's no better way to train that than go and skiing some powder in the trees.
Not only is it fun, but it's good for your skiing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I remember, and also, like, you were growing up really good in the terrain park.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's obviously helped. Like, you're taking off, in the World Cup doing downhills,
Yeah, I've always been very comfortable in the air, and I think that's played a big part too.
Huge. Yeah. That kind of cross-discipline training, obviously, it's essential. You can't be out smashing gates every day, right?
No, yeah.
We kind of talked a bit about some of the tougher times. Is there anything you would kind of say to somebody looking back, throughout the years, going through some tough times, some advice you'd give?
I'd probably just say Marco Buchel, Liechtenstein skier, was my idol. I got to race with him 1 year in 2011, and then he retired, and I was having a very, very tough time in 2013. And I looked to him for some advice, and he just told me to enjoy it as long as you can. It's so true of that we get caught up in so many different emotions, expectations, what others are saying or feeling or showing. And at the end of the day, it's about you. It's about your moment. Live in it. Just enjoy it. It doesn't always have to be so serious. Mm-hmm. Definitely learn the lesson mm-hmm. from what you
gotta enjoy it.
Yeah, but you just have to enjoy it. That's the biggest part of it.
That's so true. That's with like anything, right? Like career, mm-hmm. sports, enjoying it's half the battle. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, then what's the point?
Yeah. That's where I was last week. I was like, I'm not enjoying this. Really? So what's the point? Yeah. I got to ski fast or I'm not going to enjoy this.
Is there a fine line between enjoying it and pushing through? Like, do you kind of...
Yeah, that one's a really tough one. There's days where you can't just go, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just going to enjoy it. Like, it's a job. It's work. It's a career.
Not everything's going to be...
Not everything is handed to you. Yeah. And sometimes you have to go out there and get it.
So
you have to work hard. That's what separates the people that I ski raced with, who were more talented than me mm-hmm. at my age, but they get a little bit of a hiccup, and then it was just all about that. And mm-hmm. instead of burying your head down and working hard, mm-hmm. that in a way can ruin you. But it's more often than not that the guy that puts his head down and works hard is the guy that pulls through compared to the other guy that makes us think about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you got to enjoy it, but there's hard work no matter what you do, right? Like,
it's always hard work.
You're not going to...
But it's rewarding when you work hard.
Have you had any moments that felt most fulfilling, or kind of those moments where that was the best?
There's a couple moments in there.
Like what?
The first time I scored World Cup points in Val Gardena.
When was that?
Back in 2010.
So that's when you made the team?
Yeah. So my first time in Val Gardena, the night before, I think, or the day before, I was over 10 seconds out in the training run.
Really?
So a tail or a headwind developed
Okay.
throughout the training run, and me and my teammate Louis, we were over 10 seconds out, not even close to the top 30. And I needed to score World Cup points, otherwise I was going to get sent home, and this was kind of like the end of the career.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a friend of mine, Stan Ray, and he was giving me some advice. I was just saying how tough it was on World Cup. Stan's always been a pretty positive guy, of you can do it, and he just kind of told me, just go for it. And I don't know, I don't really remember the day much. I don't really remember what I was thinking about, but I just put it all on the line, and when I crossed the line, I was 16th, and I just couldn't even believe it. Couldn't contain my emotions or anything, and it was just unbelievable. And another similar moment was when I was on the podium in Sochi.
Second that day.
Yeah, and I was fifth the race before. I wasn't even supposed to go to Russia, but I qualified with a fifth.
Yeah.
Almost like a Cinderella story. Like, I'm not supposed to be there, and if I don't score points, I'm off the team again. It's a very similar trait. I've done that a couple times. Yeah.
Well, that's why it's a great story. I mean, it's cool to hear it from making it on when that was 2010. So you were 22?
22, yeah.
And it's just been kind of this battle, and you just haven't given up.
No, there's been multiple battles, and I've just never given up. And I think that's why I always continually come out on top, is because I know if I work hard, I can do it.
Yeah. Knowing that, going forward, what's the plan this year then? Try and do as best you can this year?
Yeah, it was a tough summer, just with a bunch of changes, coaching changes, getting over being pretty sick with pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forgot. I tore my patella tendon, my left patella tendon 50%.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I got a PRP injection, a platelet-rich plasma. They withdraw your blood, spin it around, and inject all the healing blood cells back into the tendon, and incredibly painful.
Wow.
I don't suggest it.
Was that last year?
But
you had that?
I had that in the spring, and so it took me a while to get back to a place where I could actually ski. So I didn't ski from April until end of September, which normally we would be skiing throughout the summer.
Yeah.
Didn't have my knee where it needed to be. Coming into this season with 13 days of training, a new knee and a new serviceman and a new coach, it was stressful to say the least.
Yeah.
Started off really rocky. Lake Louise wasn't very good. Beaver Creek was terrible. Val Gardena, the downhill got canceled, but I was fast in the training run. And then Bormio, it's finally showing that I'm having fast splits, winning splits, winning sections, and just need to get a whole run together. I'm not too focused on the end goal. I want to do as good as possible, but every race is really important to me. But then also Kitzbuhel is something extra special to me. I thought I was gonna get a podium last year. I was 6th place, and then we'll try again this year. I mean, that's the goal is to podium there. I mean, not even just podium. I really want to win that race.
Yes.
But it's not an easy race. It's very difficult.
Yeah. So Kitzbuhel, for anyone listening that doesn't know, is the hardest race of the season. A lot of people are genuinely, they probably won't admit it, but they're scared at the start gate, and they're the best racers in the world. You're not thinking that when you go down, but what are you thinking when you go down the Kitzbuhel?
A run down Kitzbuhel is pretty wild. The trick is you have to be able to not think.
Yeah.
You really have to turn off the brain, but it's so hard.
You don't think?
No. Well, I try not to.
Yeah.
But it is really hard. Stuff creeps into your brain because in the start hut, for the average skier,
you can't even describe it. Probably
you can't. For the average skier to do inspection with us, they wouldn't be able to get down the hill.
It's pure.
I know people think, oh, there's no way. I've done double black diamonds and stuff like that. And
yeah.
I can tell you right now, it's a skating rink that is as steep as a black diamond or double black diamond, and rough as all can be, and dark. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And in the first 3 seconds, you're already going over 100 kilometers an hour.
So how does that happen?
You're just basically falling out of the start gate. It's so steep. It's so steep. And then you fly off a 60-meter jump. That's,
oh my goodness.
What is that, 180 feet? And that's in the first 10 seconds.
And that's, what is the run, a minute long? Or
It's a minute 45. And at the bottom is the toughest section. You come off a 50-meter jump and you land on a crazy side hill that's it's probably 45 degrees.
Extremely rough, right?
Yeah, rough. And then you have 100,000 fans there cheering. Go off a 50-meter jump and then down into the compression. You get going 150 kilometers an hour.
150?
Yeah. And then off another jump and into the finish. And it's just a mess and a disaster. It's beautiful chaos the whole way down.
It's also a super good after party, isn't it? Like,
well, they say that 80% of the people coming to watch the race are there for the party.
And don't the World Cup racers they go to that special bar or something?
Well, if you podium, you kind of have to go to the Londoner.
Yeah,
it's a famous.
Does
bar
everyone
there.
go there, or just the winners?
Sometimes most people go there. It's generally just the top three.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So
you'll get lots of other athletes that'll go, but I think as a podium achiever, you go. Meant to go. You have to go.
That's probably coming up now. Your focus. I don't know if you have one race in particular you kind of focused on, or
that's the race I've been focused on for a long time. And when I have bad days, my coaches know me well enough to go, don't worry, Kitzbuhel is X amount of days away.
As a smaller technical guy, I mean, that'd be probably one of the ones you have an advantage on.
Yeah.
Compared to like maybe more of an, or is
Vangen's pretty long and flat. And so
does it matter?
It does. And it doesn't. At the end of the day, it's just how fast you go from top to bottom. For sure, some courses suit me better than others, but it's not so much the courses as the conditions. So when it's that soft, aggressive, dry snow, that's like skiing on styrofoam. I am so slow on it. I can't ski on it. Can't figure it out. The icier, the bumpier, the darker, the better.
Kind of like Panorama growing up.
Exactly. So,
Well, that's great. I think that really, from start to the finish, kind of gives a really good snapshot of where you're at. Looking back on things or going forward, do you have any advice you'd give to an athlete coming up or someone in general, looking back on your last 10 years and competing? Yeah,
I would just say, similar to what I've said before, is to really enjoy it. I'm not a huge fan of the social media. I understand the importance of it, but I think people can get lost in it quite easily. Mm-hmm. So I would just be careful with that. But other than that, live in the moment and enjoy it, and don't be afraid to work hard. Well, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you sitting down, taking the time to tell the story and going over the highs and lows and the goals going forward. And anything else, any messages you'd like to leave? Or thanks a lot for having me. Hopefully everybody enjoyed listening. Absolutely. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you liked what you heard, head over to rosebros.ca where we will have upcoming episodes. You can also find our coffee and chocolate there, where we plant one tree for every bag or bar sold through our partnership with One Tree Planted, a non-for-profit organization focused on global reforestation. Otherwise, until next time, happy coffee drinking.